Hi, this is Misha, and out here on this New Year's Eve of 2016, we're just shooting actually a bunch of AKMs. We brought a Polish build out, we brought a NPAP out, we brought a SLR 104 out. These are just things we wanted to shoot, but the one this video is about is an Egyptian Maadi. Now, we'll have a full-length video on Egyptian guns. I just wanted to mention the Maadi and do a little video on it. These have an interesting history, and Egypt started producing essentially an exact copy of the AKM using Russian tooling and even Russian advisors back in the 60s. And they continued to have Russian advisors until 72 when they were kicked out. So after 72, the Russians were gone, but they still had their tooling. In 1982, Steyr imported about 2,000 Egyptian ARM rifles, so they were pre-banned, and they would sell these off throughout the 80s. They didn't sell very fast because they were very expensive for that day and time, especially compared to other imports, say, from Hungary and China. After the 1989 Bush executive order that prohibited the importation of assault weapons, assault rifle type guns, the Egyptian guns would return. Starting in 93, two companies, Intrac, which this one is here, and PARS would start importing post-ban versions of the Maadi, and they had a few different names. They called them the ARM, the RML, the RKM, or RPM, I think, a few different names. They mostly had 16-inch barrels, so they were AKM style. A few of them came in with 20-inch barrels, but they were still a lightweight profile, so they weren't an RPK or anything. They were just a long-barreled AKM. But yeah, when these came in, they had a thumbhole stock. They still had a standard handguard. They still had a standard dimpled magwell that took double stack mags. They didn't have to machine these out. Yep, it's not tight. I just had to get it in there right. The bayonet lug had to be machined off. And originally, they had a muzzle nut, a very ugly muzzle nut, I might add, tack welded on. You can see the leftover weld. I haven't had time to dress up yet, but eventually I'll shave that down and refinish it. Still had the cleaning rod under the barrel, standard AKM bolt group, and so on and so forth. These have a paint+park finish, which is honestly kind of gloopy and runny at spots. But to be fair, that's what a lot of the Russian military service guns look like as well. They use laminated furniture and Bakelite type pistol grips, polymer pistol grips. They use black and brown grips. But yeah, PARS and Intrac would import these until 1995. After that, Century Arms would take over the reins in 97 with the Misr, which is really just Egyptian for Egypt. And then after the Misr would come the Misr 10, because in 1997, 1998, there was a ruling by the ATF, the Treasury Department, that said that rifles could not come in able to accept high-capacity magazines. So that's when you start seeing the double stack and, guns without bullet guides coming in around 98. And that's what happened to the Maadi. The Misr 10 could only take 10-round mags. And then finally, there was the Misr SA, which was essentially a converted gun that Century did. They'd bring them over, and they would install the right buttstock, the right pistol grip, a US-made trigger group, so on and so forth. So the Misr SAs are good. Now, the one you want to look out for and avoid is the Misr 90, which was a Chinese Maadi hybrid, and I don't know, they're just mutts because they had a bunch of leftover Chinese parts kits. But yeah, the Maadis were coming in throughout the 90s. I don't know when they really stopped bringing them in. Probably about 2001, because I know when I was buying my SAR-1, which we do have a video on, that they had Maadis in the store. They were the Misr SAs at that time. But I selected the Romanian gun because it had a little nicer wood, and it had just a straight park finish as opposed to this gloopy paint. But when I had an opportunity this year to trade for a Maadi locally for a customer, I picked it up. I figured, why not? It's a really good representation of a basic Soviet-style AKM. I mean, it has all the goods and the bads that a military gun would, including a very Horrible trigger. I'll probably replace that or do something with it. It is definitely the true definition of a military trigger. You'll see in one of the shooting clips I was trying to rapid fire it and making a complete hash of it because of this not great trigger. It just needs a little polishing. It's a good machine trigger, but it's just rough. But yeah, we've done a lot of Romanian guns and several other of the imports, and the Maadi is definitely one that you find, and up until recently they've been very affordable, but now the prices are starting to climb near $1,000. Now the pre-band Steyrs, they're well over $2,000 now, and they look identical to this except they will have the bayonet lug, and they tended to have a little better QC, a little tighter fit and finish. Well, if you have any questions or comments, please post them below. As always, we really appreciate you tuning in, and if you haven't yet, please check out our other AK videos. And we'll be doing this one again, more of the history of the Maadi in our Egyptian video, which should be coming out real soon. Well, Happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2017.